This thing on? All right. Coming to you live from the Supply Chaney World News headquarters here in Dallas, Texas. We are giving you a special update on the tariff situation going throughout the economy, throughout the world, throughout the supply chain industry. We're bringing on a subject matter expert here to share some updates with you all today. That's Shannon Hynes, the CEO of Quickcode. Shannon, thanks for joining us today.
I'm excited to be here, Nathan, and thanks for having me.
Certainly. Let's get down to business.
Of course. Of course.
All right, Shannon, tariffs are dominating the headlines right now. From your vantage point, how are importers and brokers actually changing their day-to-day classification workflows in response?
Great question, Nathan. And I think we have historically treated tariff classification and tariff compliance as a back office activity that a lot of people don't even know exists in their organization. And what we're seeing now in the day-to-day workflow is that those subject matter experts who are working in trade compliance are all of a sudden the heroes of the organization. So how are they changing their workflows? Well, hopefully what they're doing is, in addition to answering a lot of questions from their peers in other departments, from sourcing to finance to pricing, they're prioritizing their most vulnerable and risky products and making sure that what they have in their product database with respect to descriptions and manufacturers and country of origin is correct. And where it isn't, they're prioritizing getting that fixed. If I were a trade compliance person working in an importing organization, that's what I would be doing, is making sure that the data I have accurately reflects what I'm actually importing and what I'm actually doing compliance on.
I'm curious, what separates AI tools that actually earn trust from the ones that create more risk than they solve?
It's a great question. AI and trade compliance, sometimes I meet people and they're like, I wouldn't go near it. And I meet other people who said, I can't wait for it to arrive. So the truth is, we're somewhere in between, right? The biggest thing that AI can bring to trade compliance to make the skepticism less is transparency, right? We have treated AI historically as a black box. So if you, for instance, try to classify with ChatGPT, we'll use classification as an example, you know, sometimes if you just put in the description, sometimes it will get it right. Sometimes it will get it wrong. If you put in the description and you say, and tell me why, sometimes it will make things up. Sometimes it won't. It does lead to skepticism. It does lead to distrust. And when a product that uses AI for trade compliance is on the market, it's natural for these trade compliance folks to say, well, look, I have used ChatGPT or I have used Claude and it never gives me the right thing. Why would I trust you? And I think the answer is true transparency comes from a product that actually provides full auditable results that the trade compliance expert, who is the subject matter expert, can actually evaluate for themselves. And that's why we always say AI, human in loop AI, is the best solution for trade compliance because it helps speed up the process while really giving the decision making over to the human who is an expert.
I really appreciate the concept of trying to shine a light inside that black box.
Yeah.
What would it mean for compliance teams to have real visibility into how strong or weak their product data signal is actually before decisions get made?
So this goes to what I talked about before, which is prioritizing. If you knew that you didn't have all of the data that's necessary to do a proper classification or to evaluate the proper tariff, for instance, what percentage of my widget actually is made of aluminum? Is it less than 15%? Is it less than 5%? Where was it smelted? If I knew all of that, then I have terrific data quality and I can confidently use AI on that data. But if I am missing data, if I don't have data, I need to know that. And that's another place where AI can come in and say, look, here's all your products. You need to take a look at these top 10 because you don't have enough information on these to actually provide import compliance with any kind of reliability. So if you have a product that says, look at these look good. You've brought these in before. This looks like this. Great. But these products, you're missing pretty critical data. It would be really valuable. And it's another terrific use case for AI.
Interesting point, Shannon. With 160 plus customs jurisdictions all moving at different speeds, what does global compliance readiness actually look like for mid-size importers in 2026? And where are the biggest blind spots?
I hate to keep beating a dead horse on this, but it goes back to the data layer. I'm going to say again, the biggest blind spots are hiding in plain sight. What don't I know? And I mentioned a lot about the product itself, the actual product, but it also has to do with, do I have the correct country of origin? Do I have full visibility into the supply chain to know if maybe some of my suppliers or vendors are on someone's naughty list, right? I need to know that information so that I can comply with import laws into the United States. And so when you're talking about then expanding that to 160 jurisdictions that all have their own rules, it's critical that you have that information readily available, and not everyone does for a variety of reasons. It's hard. Sometimes it's hard to get. Sometimes it's hard to know. And you really, once you have it, you need to be able to keep track of it. You need to have it stored in a place that you can go back to, that you can make changes to, and that's fully auditable. So when CBP or your own auditors come knocking, you can say, this is why I said the country of origin was Austria. Here's how I decided that. Here's the spec sheet that says to me what percentage of this product is aluminum. And here is my full reporting on my full supply chain for this product that shows that all of these suppliers and vendors along the way are in fact free from forced labor or other sanctions that would keep them would be bad on the supply chain.
As we wrap up today's special segment, I'm curious if you could tell every trade compliance professional watching one thing they should do differently this week. Given everything happening in the market right now, what would that be?
I'd say two things they should do. The first thing they should do is sit up a little higher in their chair because they are so valuable in their organization. And unfortunately for them, that means that they have more work to do because the organization themselves are starting to realize these guys actually know a lot. They know a lot about the product, and they also know a lot about what it costs to bring it in. And that leads me to my next thing, which is if I were a trade compliance person, I would want to know what are the products that are driving the most revenue in this company. And then I would look at where are they coming from, right? Where are they coming from? Where am I sourcing them? And maybe I'm only sourcing them from one country, very risky. Maybe I'm sourcing them from 5 countries. And then I would say, we're in a volatile time and this administration changes rules very quickly. If the rules, the tariff, general rate of duty, or any of those things changed overnight, would I be in a position to tell my leadership, my C-suite, what the impact would be financially to this organization? Can we source this? Can I work with sourcing to find another place to get this information if that happens? And so I think you start with what's driving the revenue of the organization and what is the risk if something changes. And we don't know what's going to change. We read the news. We know that there are lots of tariffs that are in flight right now. We know that there are tariffs that are being thrown out. No one really knows what it means. But that's what it's all about, right? Is what is the risk to the organization? And the people in trade compliance are in a great spot to know what would happen if tomorrow I could not import this good from some such place because it had a 75% tariff on it and my margins are eroded. And so I have to find another supplier. And where would that be?
Thank you, Shannon, for coming on and spending some time and sharing your expertise with us today. How might listeners get a little bit of more information or get a hold of you in Quickcode?
I would love it if they did. You can always reach out at hello@Quickcode.AI. We're always watching for those emails and happy to answer any questions specifically around AI in trade compliance. We have a whole team of experts who spend a lot of time thinking about it. So I'd love to talk to anyone who has any questions about Quickcode.
Excellent. Thanks for joining us today, Shannon.
Of course.